John Harris adjusted his translator device as he navigated through the crowded marketplace of Action, a melting pot of alien commerce and culture. Stalls brimming with exotic goods stretched endlessly under the giant transparent dome that shielded the bazaar from the harsh atmosphere outside. "Care for a taste of Jarnoxian spice, sir?" "Enhances human senses, or so I've heard," a tentacled merchant called out, waving a vibrant cluster of spices under John's nose. Laughing, John waved a polite no. "Maybe next time," he said, his attention caught by the bustling activity around him. His gaze landed on a figure struggling near a neighboring stall. The alien woman was tall and slender, her skin a pale iridescent blue, and she seemed to be having trouble with a malfunctioning anti-gravity crate. Curious, John approached her. "Need a hand?" he asked. The woman turned, her bright violet eyes widening slightly as she assessed him. "I'm not sure you could help, human," she replied, her voice melodic yet laced with frustration. Her translator rendered her speech smoothly, with a slight accent. John smiled and held up his hands. "I'm pretty handy. John Harris, at your service." After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. "I'm Mira. And this," she gestured helplessly at the crate, "is beyond annoying." Together, they tinkered with the crate's settings. John noticed her interest as he explained his actions, his human perspective providing a fresh approach. "So, you're not just here to shop, I take it?" John asked as he worked. Mira shook her head, her hair shimmering like liquid silver. "No, I'm here to procure supplies for my community. It's challenging, given the scarcity of compatible tech that we can use." Her use of compatible piqued John's interest, but before he could delve deeper, the crate hummed to life, hovering smoothly. "Ah, you fixed it!" Mira exclaimed, a genuine smile breaking through her professional demeanor. "It was a team effort," John said with a grin. "Say, would you like to grab a drink? My treat, to celebrate our victory over rebellious technology." Mira regarded him thoughtfully, then nodded. "I accept. It would be interesting to share more about our respective cultures. I admit, I'm curious about humans." As they walked toward one of the many food courts, the air was filled with the buzz of a dozen alien languages and the scent of unfamiliar spices. John was aware of the curious glances they attracted. Human and alien interactions were not unheard of, but they were uncommon enough to draw attention. Sitting at a small table with refreshments, they began to exchange stories. Mira spoke of her planet, Lyrian, with its strict genetic protocols, while John shared tales of Earth's diversity. "So, humans enjoy a variety of cultures, then?" Mira asked, fascinated. "Absolutely," John replied. "We thrive on diversity. Makes life interesting." Mira laughed, the sound like chimes in the wind. "I must visit Earth someday. It sounds liberating." Their conversation flowed easily, laying the foundation for what was to become a profound connection. As the Ection sun set beyond the dome, casting long shadows over the marketplace, John felt a sense of anticipation. Meeting Mira might have been chance, but he had a feeling it was the beginning of something extraordinary. Chapter 2. Unlikely Interest. The cafe was buzzing with the ambient noise of 100 alien dialects and the soft clinks of cups and utensils. Aromatic vapors of otherworldly brews and baked goods filled the air, creating a cozy atmosphere that fostered a sense of camaraderie among its patrons, no matter their origin. John and Mira found a quiet corner booth, where they could continue their conversation in relative privacy. "This is a popular spot," John noted, observing the diverse clientele, from feathered avians to rugged silicon-based entities. "It's a neutral zone of sorts," Mira explained, selecting a tea from the menu. "All species are welcome, and disputes are left at the door. Literally. They have a field that dampens aggressive tendencies." John raised his eyebrows, impressed. Handy technology. Earth could use something like that in certain places. Their drinks arrived, brought by a robotic server that moved with seamless precision. John took a sip of his coffee, a strong, dark brew that reminded him of home. "So, tell me," John leaned in, genuinely curious. "What's it like, needing to find genetic compatibility? It sounds pretty intense." Myra's expression was thoughtful. "It's more than just compatibility. It's about survival. My people are facing genetic stagnation. Without new, viable genes, we could—" She trailed off, looking down at her cup. John reached out, his tone gentle. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pry." She shook her head, smiling faintly. "It's okay. It's just a reality we live with. That's why I'm so fascinated by humans. Your species is so robust, so diverse genetically." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another human, a man in a pilot's uniform, who approached their table with a friendly grin. "John, didn't expect to see you here. Who's your friend?" John stood to introduce them. "Mira, this is Captain Alex Reed, an old buddy of mine. Alex, this is Mira from Lyrian. Pleasure to meet you, Mira." Alex extended his hand, which Mira took cautiously, not used to the human gesture. "Likewise, Captain Reed," Mira replied, her interest piqued. Alex sat down with them, ordering a drink before turning his attention back to the conversation. "So, what brings you to this side of the galaxy? Business or pleasure?" "A bit of both," John answered, glancing at Mira. "We're just getting to know each other's worlds a bit better." "Ah, cultural exchange," Alex nodded. "Always a good thing in my book. The more we understand each other, the better we can get along, right?" "Exactly," Mira agreed, warming up to the new company. "John was just telling me about Earth's diversity. It sounds like a vibrant place." "It's the best," Alex said with a laugh. "But I'm biased, of course. If you ever visit, we'll have to show you around. Make sure you get the full experience." The conversation flowed easily from there, with Alex sharing stories of his travels and Mira contributing insights about Lyrian's technology and culture. John listened, pleased to see how Mira was engaging more openly, her initial reserve fading in the friendly setting. As the evening wound down, Mira looked between John and Alex, a spark of determination in her eyes. "I think I would like to learn more about humanity, perhaps even visit Earth. It seems I have much to discover." John smiled, feeling a rush of excitement at the prospect. "We'd be honored to have you, Mira. And who knows? Maybe there's more we can learn from each other than just stories." With a night filled with laughter and shared stories, the seeds of friendship, and perhaps more, were sown under the twinkling lights of the Interstellar Cafe. Chapter 3. Cultural Exchange. John's spaceship, the Star Wanderer, was docked at Bay 7 of Action's interstellar port. The ship, a sleek model designed for both cargo and comfort, gleamed under the artificial lights of the hangar. Mira followed John closely, her eyes scanning the technological marvels that made up the human craft. "This is your ship?" Mira asked, her tone a mix of surprise and admiration as she touched the smooth metal of the hull. "Yeah, she's been my home away from home for a few years now," John replied, pride evident in his voice. He punched in the access code, and the ramp descended with a gentle hiss. "Come on, I'll give you the grand tour." Inside, the Star Wanderer was furnished with a blend of utility and comfort. The main cabin was spacious, with a small kitchenette, a lounging area, and various human amenities. Mira was particularly interested in the collection of Earth artifacts John had on display, a mini-museum of his travels. "These are fascinating," Mira remarked, examining a traditional hand-woven basket from Africa. You've collected these from Earth? Mostly gifts from friends I've made on my travels, John explained, handing her a small, intricately painted figurine. Each piece has a story. As they moved through the ship, John showed her the engine room and the navigation console, explaining the basics of human space travel technology. Mira, with her own advanced knowledge, asked technical questions that surprised John with their depth. "You really know your stuff," John said, impressed. "We have similar technology on Lyrian, though it's adapted to our specific environmental needs," Mira explained. Their tour was interrupted by the arrival of another figure, stepping onto the ship unannounced but not unwelcome. He was a tall man, broad-shouldered with a friendly demeanor, clad in the uniform of a space engineer. "John, I got those parts you were looking for," the man announced, then paused upon seeing Mira. "Oh, I didn't realize we had company. Tom, this is Mira from Lyrian. Mira, meet Tom Henderson, my engineer and good friend," John introduced. "Pleasure to meet you, Mira." Tom extended his hand, his smile genuine. Mira shook his hand, now familiar with the gesture. "Likewise, Tom. John was just showing me around the Star Wanderer. If you're interested in engineering, you picked the right ship to tour. John may be the captain, but I keep her running," Tom joked, leading them towards the new parts he'd brought. As Tom installed the new components, he explained what each piece did, with Mira listening intently. John observed the interaction, pleased to see Mira so engaged. "Your understanding of technology is impressive," Tom commented as he worked. "Ever thought of becoming a space engineer?" Mira laughed. "I think I'm committed to my own planet's issues for now, but I appreciate the complexity of your work." They spent the rest of the afternoon discussing various technological advancements and their potential applications. Mira shared insights from Lyrian that Tom found particularly intriguing, noting them down for further research. As the tour concluded and they stepped off the ship, Mira looked back at the Star Wanderer with a thoughtful expression. "Thank you, John, and you too, Tom. Today was enlightening. I feel like I've gained a deeper understanding of humanity, not just your technology, but your people." John smiled, feeling a connection that went beyond simple friendship. "We're glad to have met you, Mira, and there's plenty more to share, whenever you're interested." Tom nodded in agreement. "Any time you want to talk tech, just give us a call." As they said their goodbyes, Mira felt a renewed sense of curiosity and a burgeoning respect for the humans she was getting to know. The Star Wanderer wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol of the openness and resourcefulness of its people. Chapter 4. The Revelation. Back at the cozy atmosphere of the Interstellar Cafe on Action, Mira and John settled into their usual corner booth, now their unofficial meeting spot. The hum of conversation around them blended into a soothing backdrop as they sipped their respective drinks. "I've been thinking a lot about our discussions," Mira began, her expression contemplative. "About all the things you've shown me." John leaned in, intrigued. "Oh, anything in particular?" "It's about my people, and why I've struggled so much with finding a compatible mate." Mira paused, searching for the right words. "Our genetic protocols aren't just guidelines. They're strict rules because our genetic diversity is dangerously low." "I haven't been completely honest with you, John." John's eyebrows furrowed with concern. "Mira, you can tell me anything. You know that, right?" Taking a deep breath, Mira continued, "My body rejects potential mates because their genetic material is considered weak. It's a biological response I can't control. It's led to many personal disappointments." John reached out, covering her hand with his own in a supportive gesture. "I'm really sorry to hear that. It sounds incredibly tough." "It is," Mira admitted, squeezing his hand in gratitude for his empathy. "But spending time with you, learning about humans, I've started to wonder about possibilities. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another friend, Mark, a human geneticist John had introduced to Mira previously. Mark greeted them with his usual cheerful demeanor. "Hope I'm not interrupting, but I saw you two from across the room. How's everything?" "We were just having a deep chat," John explained, making room for Mark to join them. "Genetics, by any chance?" Mark guessed, settling in with a knowing look. He turned to Mira. "John's told me about your people's challenges. I've been doing some thinking." Mira looked between the two men, her interest piqued. "What kind of thinking?" Mark pulled out his tablet, tapping up some notes he'd made. "Based on what you've told John and the info he relayed to me, I believe there could be a way to test compatibility with humans, theoretically. It's a long shot, but the diversity in human genetics might offer a viable solution." John nodded enthusiastically. "Mark's one of the best geneticists around. If there's a chance, he can find it." Mira considered this, her mind racing with the implications. A compatibility test with a human? That's unprecedented. "But not impossible," Mark added quickly. "It's purely theoretical at this stage, but with your permission, we could look into a preliminary assessment. It would be non-intrusive, just some basic genetic scans to start." Mira sat back, overwhelmed yet intrigued by the possibility. "I would need to think about it. This could mean a lot, not just for me but for my entire species." "Of course," John said gently. "Take all the time you need. We're here to help, whatever you decide." Mark nodded in agreement. "Absolutely. No pressure. Just think of it as another option on the table." The rest of the evening passed with lighter conversation, but Myra's thoughts remained on the potential of what Mark had proposed. As they parted ways, John gave her a reassuring smile. "Whatever you choose, I'm with you." Walking back to her quarters, Mira felt a mix of apprehension and hope. The possibility of finding compatibility with a human was more than a personal issue. It could be a breakthrough for her people. As Action's moons shone brightly above, she knew the decision she made could alter her path profoundly. Chapter 5. Intimate Understanding. The park on Action was a quiet refuge amidst the bustling trade routes and busy markets, a place where Mira and John often met to escape the chaos and delve deeper into their burgeoning relationship. The exotic flora of the park, designed to accommodate life forms from various planets, rustled gently in the artificially maintained breeze. Sitting on a bench under a luminescent tree, whose leaves changed colors to reflect the time cycles of different planets, John broke the silence that had settled between them. "Have you thought any more about the compatibility test Mark mentioned?" he asked gently, watching her face for any sign of discomfort. Mira nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on the shimmering leaves. "I have. I'm curious, of course, but also cautious. It's a big step, not just for me personally, but potentially for my people." John reached out, taking her hand. "Whatever you decide, I'm here. You're not in this alone, Mira." Her smile in response was timid but genuine. "Thank you, John. That means more than you know. I think I'm ready to try it. To see if there's a future where our two species could be more than just allies." John squeezed her hand, encouragement in his eyes. "Then let's do it. Let's find out together." Their hands still intertwined, they stood and walked towards the center of the park, where the soft glow of the evening lights began to illuminate paths and benches. As they walked, their conversation turned to lighter topics, the upcoming compatibility test set aside for the moment. Suddenly, Mira stopped, turning to face John. Her expression was serious, yet there was a softness there that hadn't been present before. "Before we go any further, I want to know more about you, John. Not just as a human, but as the man you are." John's heart quickened at her words. What do you want to know? Everything. Your hopes, your fears. Why you chose the life of a trader among the stars, Mira replied, stepping closer. John chuckled softly, his gaze locked with hers. Well, I wanted adventure, to see the universe. But now, I think I was also looking for something else, something like this. He gestured around them, then back to their joined hands. Something meaningful. Myra's eyes lit up with understanding and something deeper, perhaps the beginning of deeper feelings. She moved even closer, her face inches from his. I feel the same, she whispered. Without another word, John leaned in and kissed her. It was a gentle kiss, exploratory at first, but growing in confidence as Mira responded. Their first kiss under the alien sky was tender, a mingling of breath and warmth that seemed to bridge their worlds. As they parted, Myra's face was flushed, her breath slightly quickened. That was different, she murmured. Good different? John asked, a hopeful note in his voice. Very good, Mira affirmed, her hand caressing his cheek. I think we are more compatible than we realized. They continued their walk, hand in hand, their steps lighter than before. The park around them seemed to resonate with their new connection, the colored leaves shimmering brighter as if in celebration. As the evening wore on, they found themselves back at the bench, reluctant to end their time together. They spoke of many things, dreams, fears, the future, and with each word the bond between them strengthened. By the time they parted ways that night, both felt a profound shift had occurred. They were no longer just friends exploring an unlikely connection. They were two beings, human and alien, daring to explore the possibility of a shared future. Chapter 6. The Compatibility Test. In the sterile environment of the Genetic Compatibility Center on Ection, Mira and John stood side by side, facing the advanced diagnostic equipment that would soon analyze their genetic material. The center was a hub of scientific inquiry, where experts from various species collaborated to understand and enhance interspecies relations. Dr. Liam Russo, the lead geneticist at the center, greeted them warmly. Tall and lean with a sharp intellect evident in his keen gaze, Liam was well regarded in his field and had been instrumental in setting up this unprecedented test. Welcome, Mira, John, Liam began, his voice calm and reassuring. We've prepared a non-intrusive scan for both of you. It will map out genetic markers that indicate compatibility potential, not just for reproduction, but also for immune system synchronization and other physiological interactions. John nodded, giving Myra's hand a reassuring squeeze. We're ready, Dr. Russo. Right, Mira. Mira took a deep breath, her nerves apparent. Yes, ready as I'll ever be. Liam led them to a pair of adjacent scanning pods. The process is completely painless and will take about 15 minutes. You'll need to lie down in these pods, and the scanners will do the rest. As they settled into the pods, John tried to lighten the mood. Fancy a nap while we save the future, he joked, smiling at Mira through the transparent divider. Mira chuckled, the sound tinged with nervousness. I'll try to stay awake so I can keep an eye on you. The pods closed gently over them, and the scanners hummed to life. Lights flickered, sensors analyzed, and data streamed onto Liam's monitoring screens. Outside the pods, Liam and his assistant, a quiet but observant young scientist named Ben, watched the progress. Look at this, Liam murmured to Ben, pointing at a series of rapidly processing genetic maps. I've never seen such a clear indication of potential compatibility between these two species. It's extraordinary. Ben leaned closer, his eyes wide with fascination. The implications could be groundbreaking, not just for them but for all interspecies relations. Minutes ticked by, and soon the scanning process concluded. The pods opened, and John and Mira emerged, looking to Liam for any immediate insights. Well, the preliminary results are quite promising, Liam announced, unable to hide a smile. There's a significant level of compatibility. I need to analyze the data further, but it looks like you two might indeed be a match in more ways than one. John let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, and Myra's relief was palpable. That's more than I dared hope, she said, her voice soft with emotion. Liam handed them each a printout of the preliminary results. We'll need some time to compile a full report, but you should start considering what this means for you both personally and, potentially, for your communities. As they left the center, John and Mira found themselves in a quiet garden nearby, processing the news. So, it looks like we really could have a future, John said, turning to Mira with a hopeful gaze. Mira looked up at him, her expression a mix of wonder and determination. It seems so. This changes everything, John. For us, and maybe for our species. They discussed the potential challenges and responsibilities, the weight of their decision settling around them. Yet, despite the gravity of the situation, there was an undeniable excitement brewing between them, a sense of possibilities unfolding that neither had expected to find so far from home. As they walked back through the gardens, their steps synchronized, Mira leaned her head slightly against John's shoulder. "Whatever comes next, I'm glad it's with you," she said quietly. "Me too, Mira. Whatever comes next, we face it together," John replied, his voice steady and sure. As they continued walking, their intertwined hands were not just a gesture of affection, but a symbol of their newfound bond, ready to face whatever challenges and wonders lay ahead. Chapter 7. Acceptance and Love. As the Ection sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, golden shadows across the city, Mira and John found themselves at her apartment, a place she had meticulously designed to mimic the serene landscapes of Lyrian. Tonight, however, the setting sun seemed to echo the warmth growing between them, reflecting their inner transformation. John stood by the balcony, looking out over the city lights. "It's beautiful here," he remarked, his voice tinged with a sense of wonder. Mira joined him, her presence comforting. "I tried to bring a bit of Lyrian to Ection. It helps when I feel homesick." Turning to face her, John took both her hands in his. "Mira, after today, knowing we're compatible, it feels like we're on the brink of something new, something incredible." Mira nodded, her eyes reflecting the last rays of the setting sun. "Yes, it's a big step. I'm ready if you are." With a mutual understanding, they moved closer, their previous kisses a prelude to this moment where they both felt the depth of their connection and the potential of what lay ahead. John leaned in, his lips meeting Myra's in a kiss that spoke of promise and passion. As they deepened the kiss, their arms wrapped around each other, each touch igniting a cascade of emotions and desires. Gently breaking the kiss, John whispered, "Are you sure about this? I want to be certain you're comfortable." Mira responded by pulling him closer, her voice a soft affirmation. "I've never been more sure of anything." They moved together to the couch, their actions slow and deliberate. As they continued to kiss, their hands explored, communicating through touch what words could no longer convey. The connection deepened, their senses heightened by the profound significance of their union. As they made love, Mira trembled with the overwhelming sensations, the emotional and physical pleasure intertwined. John was gentle yet passionate, each movement a testament to their unique bond. Mira, experiencing the strength and diversity of John's human genes, felt a connection far deeper than she had ever imagined possible. Afterward, they lay together, wrapped in each other's arms, the city's nocturnal sounds a distant backdrop to their intimate sanctuary. "That was more than I could have imagined," Mira murmured, her head resting on John's chest. John stroked her hair, his heart still racing. "For me too, Mira. It feels like we've just started something that can't be undone." They talked then about the future, about what their findings meant not just for them but potentially for interspecies relations across the galaxy. It was a conversation filled with hope and determination, grounded in the reality of their profound connection. "We might be facing some challenges ahead," John said thoughtfully. "But together, I think we can manage anything." Mira lifted her head to meet his gaze, her expression resolute. "Together. I like the sound of that." As the night deepened, they made plans to visit Earth, to introduce Mira to John's home, and to explore the possibilities of integrating their lives more fully. The thought of Mira experiencing Earth, meeting his friends, and possibly sharing their story with others excited John, and he could see the anticipation in Myra's eyes as well. Their conversation drifted to quieter topics as the night wore on, the contentment between them a palpable force. They had crossed a boundary tonight, both physically and emotionally, and as they finally drifted off to sleep, it was with a shared sense of fulfillment and eager anticipation for the future. The world outside continued its pace, but inside Myra's apartment, a new chapter had begun for them, one filled with possibilities and the promise of shared tomorrows. Chapter 8. Future Bound. The morning light filtered softly through the sheer curtains of Myra's apartment, casting a warm glow over the couple still intertwined on the couch. The peacefulness of the dawn was a sharp contrast to the whirlwind of emotions and decisions that had shaped their previous night. John stirred first, his eyes opening slowly as he took in the sight of Mira sleeping peacefully beside him. He smiled gently, carefully extricating himself to start preparing breakfast, a human tradition he was eager to share with her. As the aroma of cooking food filled the apartment, Mira awoke, stretching languidly before joining John in the small kitchen. "Good morning," she greeted him, her voice soft with sleep. "Morning," John replied, turning from the stove where he was flipping pancakes. "I thought we'd celebrate with a proper Earth-style breakfast." Mira laughed, the sound bright and clear. "I'm beginning to think humans celebrate everything with food." Guilty as charged, John grinned, placing a plate of pancakes and eggs in front of her. "Eat up. You'll need the energy. We have a big day ahead." As they ate, their conversation turned to the future. "I spoke with Liam this morning," John started, his tone serious. "He's sending over the final compatibility report later today, but he's confident about our prospects." Mira nodded, her mind on the same page. "I've been thinking about Earth, about visiting your home, seeing where you come from." "I'd love that," John said eagerly. "And not just visiting. What if you considered studying there? There are several institutes that would benefit from your knowledge, and you could learn more about human technology and culture." Mira considered this, the idea clearly appealing to her. "That sounds like an incredible opportunity." "And what about us?" she asked, her eyes searching his. John reached for her hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "Us? We figure it out as we go. I'm not letting you go, Mira, not when we've just found each other." Reassured, Mira smiled, her thoughts drifting to their immediate next steps. "We should start planning for the move, looking into visa regulations for interspecies residency, and maybe even a place where we can both stay." "Agreed," John said, his mind already running through the logistics. "And there's something else. The genetic compatibility isn't just about us. It could help others. We should consider sharing our findings, maybe even speaking at the Intergalactic Council." Mira was taken aback by the suggestion, but saw the wisdom in it. "Our story could pave the way for others." "I like that." With breakfast finished, they cleaned up together, the domesticity of the task a pleasant grounding after the high emotions of the night. Once everything was tidy, they settled in the living room with their respective datapads, beginning to sketch out the practical steps for their journey to Earth and their future together. As they worked, the door chimed, and Liam's assistant, Ben, appeared, handing over a sleek envelope, their compatibility report. John and Mira exchanged a glance, a mix of nervousness and excitement flickering between them. Opening the envelope together, they reviewed the contents, smiles growing as they read the positive details confirmed in print. Their compatibility was not only confirmed but highlighted as exceptionally promising. "We did it," Mira breathed, relief and joy evident in her voice. "We did," John agreed, pulling her into a hug. "Here's to a new beginning, to a future where two worlds come together." Their plans continued into the afternoon, detailed and hopeful. The new settlement for interspecies couples on Earth would be their first stop, a place where they could start their new life together while advocating for broader interspecies understanding and cooperation. As the sun set on another day on Action, John and Mira looked out over the city, their hearts full. The journey ahead would be full of challenges, but together they felt unstoppable. With their love as a foundation and a future filled with infinite possibilities, they were ready to take on the universe, side by side.